Okay, we're going to go and get started with today's webinar. So good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sean Dixon. I'm the Director of AV Programs here at ADI. I want to thank everybody for joining us for today's webinar. I hope you're staying safe and you're staying busy. And joining us for today's webinar is LEA Professional, one of our newest supplier partners here at ADI. They design and build amplifiers for the professional AV community. Of course, residential AV can certainly and are being used in that market as well. They're going to share an overview of what makes their product stand out from the rest, some unique features, and kind of run us through an introduction to the line as well as doing a demo. So with that, I'd like to introduce our presenters and panelists today from LEA. So joining us is Scott Robbins, Vice President of Sales from LEA, and Joey Palkowicz, North American Sales Manager. So I'll turn things over to them here in just a moment. If you have any questions, all the attendees are in listen-only mode. So feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box, and one of us will do our best to answer them throughout the presentation. If not, we'll get to them towards the end. So there should be some time later at the end for us to answer any additional questions that come up throughout the presentation. So with that, Scott, Joey, I'll turn things over to you and let you take it away.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Okay.
And thank you for allowing us some time with you guys and the dealers that have joined today. Really appreciate your time. We're fully aware there's a little bit of Zoom hangover out there. We all can't wait to get out and get back to normal business. We're actually coming to see you and doing trainings online and introducing ourselves. But we do the best we can. And so we try really hard not to be boring, and because we're not boring people, but sometimes it's hard to convey that when you're in a little box about this size on a screen. So we'll do our best. But really appreciate our partnership with ADI. We're excited about this relationship. We've been working very hard on it. You know, they're such a powerful partner to have in your camp because of all the things that ADI brings to the table in terms of all the great brands that they represent and very skilled salespeople, warehousing. You know, I'm almost within a 24-hour shipping, you know, to anybody in the country. So just a very powerful partner. So we're excited about this. What I thought I'd do is just give you a little background on who we are. We are a relatively new brand. We've been around roughly 2.5 years. It is LEA Professional, but while our brand is relatively new, our team is not. We have a tremendous amount of experience in pro, commercial, CEDIA type audio. Most of our team, 99% of our team came from Crown and / Harman. Myself, I was working I was the Vice President of Sales at Crown. I spent 30+ years there. They're based here in Northern Indiana. I was VP of Sales when Crown was acquired by Harman back in 2000, so a long time ago. And Blake Augsburger was brought in to be the President of Crown. He's the guy at the top of the screen there. Blake had a very successful career at Crown and then as Harman, running the entire pro division of Harman for many years. Shortly after Blake retired, the announcement came out that the Crown factory was going to be closed. And the manufacturing facility here in Northern Indiana was outsourced to Mexico, and the engineering teams were basically rehired in Shenzhen, China. So that presented an opportunity, and Blake, not one to sit still, put the business plan together for LEA. And when the official closure took place in the middle of 2018, LEA was started. 10 engineers started working for us and went to work on our design. Blake assembled a team of industry veterans. I've been working with Blake now more than 20 years, so he was a known quantity to me. He's a great leader, but our team is very experienced, very committed to quality, very committed to the customer experience, all those things. And when you start a new company, it's not very many of us have had a chance to do that. And so you get a chance to think about all the mistakes you've made in your life from a career standpoint. And we really tried hard to build a company that was just better and different and looked at things differently. So LEA does stand for something. It's loud enough audio. People call us LEA. We don't care. We don't care at all. But it's officially loud enough audio. We did not want to be just another amplifier company. We really set out to differentiate ourselves from a technology standpoint and bringing technologies that have to the market and deploy them in a way that's so easy to use that really nobody else has ever done it before. And that's what we did. We have a very technologically advanced product that is using the latest tools that we have available to us now, but yet we made it really simple to use and configure and control. And I'm going to show you a demo of how that works in a minute. But the way we differentiate ourselves really is with our people. We have a tremendous group of engineers here, and our team here is really strong. Our product, which is really cool, and then the way we do business is a little bit different. All those are our core differentiators, and I'll kind of step you through those. But our secret sauce, if you will, are these engineers. When you look at all the disciplines required to build a quality product like we put to market, we have them on this team, from embedded firmware engineers, DSP engineers, and it was kind of cool to watch. When you take a group of talented individuals, they have an average of 16 years of hardcore amplifier design experience. But you take some individuals like this and you remove corporate encumbrances on them and just really let them create and let them try out all the ideas that they've had kicking around in their brains for all these years. What you get is the kind of product that we have. One of the things that they did is, aside from just making a technologically advanced product, is they made it easy to use. I'd like to say it's a reimagined way of interacting with and controlling audio systems. They really thought about the user experience and how do we, our lives are complex enough with all the gear we got coming at us, all the new products coming out all the time. How do you keep up with it all? Well, one way we tried to make that easier is just to make it really easy to use and configure. There's no manual in the box. It doesn't take a lot of basic knowledge of audio, and our product's very, very easy to deploy. We didn't do it all by ourselves. Throughout the development of our product, we had 20 large integrators, nationally recognized integrators. They were friends of ours. They were on NDA with us and coaching us through the design of the product. So while we have a tremendous engineering team here, it was not a complete engineering effort. It was a market-driven effort. We wanted to make sure that when we put out a product, it mattered and it solved the problem and it was relevant to the type of work that you guys are doing. And so they were on NDA with us. And then we have some outside partners too that are just tremendous partners. The one I'll draw your attention to on this screen is a company called Zollner. They are our manufacturing partner. They're a German aerospace and automotive electronics manufacturer. They happen to have a world-class plant in Costa Rica. That is, in fact, where the country of origin, that is where we build our product. It's all designed here in Northern Indiana in the United States. Our engineering team is here. All the employees of our company are based here, but the manufacturing is all done there. And this has been a tremendous relationship. When you're dealing with an automotive supplier, they're building Tesla electronics in the same plant. They're also building SpaceX electronics in the same plant. So they have a highly sophisticated, highly accurate way of building electronic components. I always tell people, if you're dealing with a manufacturer that's building rocket ship parts, you know that you're dealing with someone that understands a thing or two about quality. And so they measure quality in parts per million. And so we've just been extremely happy with the quality of product that we have. We have thousands and thousands of amps out there now. We don't even have a service department established yet. It's just been a tremendous experience. The other side effect of having this relationship is being in Costa Rica is that it's in our hemisphere. So the supply chain to get product to us has been really easy. It's not weeks on the water if you're sourcing product or manufacturing in Asia. It's a week to get the product here. That's it. So we've had an uninterrupted supply chain even through the pandemic. We haven't had component sourcing issues. We ship same day, every day. Again, your life as an integrator a lot of times it's all about making sure all my gear arrives on time and having all the pieces and parts I need to successfully complete an installation. So we want to make sure that we're delivering something on time as well. Yes, it's got to work. Yes, it's got to be great. Yes, it's got to solve the problems technologically that you have, but it's got to arrive at the right time too. And so I'm happy to say we've not missed a deadline. So that's a bit about us and our partners. Let me move now right into the product. So our product is called it's called the Connect series, and they're all in these very attractive one rack space packages. So very small form factor. They don't take up a lot of room in a rack or in a cabinet or underneath the table. Wherever you mount an amplifier, it doesn't take up a lot of space, and they look really cool too. I always tell people it's the best looking thing you ever put in the closet, because that's where amplifiers live, out of sight usually. But there's a shark fin. Our logo is on the front. It illuminates. It actually does change colors, which mean different things. So it's kind of cool. You get a good visual of what's going on. But it's also just a great amp. We talk all about all the cool features and technologies that we have, but it's just a very good, reliable amp that sounds great. I like to say it's old school Crown DNA, that where signal integrity and reliability were paramount table stakes requirements. And then what we did is we just took a great amplifier and packed it full of features, lots of onboard digital signal processing, load monitoring, remote control, full remote control functionality. You get all that stuff for free. It's like a bonus. And then we took all that technology and made it controllable and configurable with a very simple web-based user interface. There's no software to download, nothing to buy. Once you connect to the amp, everything you need to control and set up that amplifier shows up in your browser. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like here in a minute. Just to cover the range real quick, so we have 16 SKUs that we're shipping today. There's an 80 watt by 4 and 8 channel. There's a 160 watt by 4 and 8 channel, a 350 watt by 2 and 4 channel, and a 700 watt amplifier by 2 and 4 channel. Later this year, we'll have a 1500 watt by 4 channel amp that will ship. That'll be in 2 rack spaces. But all of the features are the same. As I described the features today, everything's the same across the entire range. The only thing that changes is whether or not the amplifier has Dante or not. So if you're using a Dante digital input signal to route your input signals around, then you'd want to buy the D version. Speaking of simplicity, we try to make our model numbers intuitive as well. So they're really easy to understand. If you see an 84, it's an 80 watt by 4 channel amp. If you see a 352, it's a 350 watt by 2 channel amp. So you don't have to do it. Sometimes we don't understand why manufacturers make their model numbers so complicated. So try to make it simple so that you know exactly what you're looking at just by looking at exactly what you have just by looking at the SKU. So just to cover some of the basic features here for you. So all of the amplifiers are designed for fixed installation. That's our core market. Our products are going into small restaurants, retail, large restaurants, retail applications. They're going into hotels, conference rooms, education spaces, government facilities. We've got a lot of courtrooms type projects, corporate boardrooms, paging systems, all of those kinds of applications. We now have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those type of installations now under our belt, including some very large ones. So you can see on the back of the amplifier, all the connectors are install oriented. They're just barrier block type connections that are really easy to install. But out of the box, the amp can drive any kind of load. So if you're doing a distributed system that's on a 70 volt line, no problem. If you're driving directly coupled speakers, no problem. And what's cool about it is every channel is independent of the other channel. So one channel can be driving a 70 volt distributed line, let's say in a restaurant, and another channel can be driving a directly coupled speaker, let's say in that same restaurant, like a subwoofer. So it makes the amp very versatile. You don't have to worry about buying the 70 volt version or the directly coupled version. The amp can drive any load out of the box, doesn't care. In addition to that, we have something that's unique to us called Smart Power Bridge. In a traditional amplifier design, to get bridge power out, you have to physically or mechanically bridge 2 channels together. and then you would effectively get double the amount of power out of that amp. So you take a 2-channel amp, make it a 1-channel amp, you get twice the amount of power out of that now one single channel. Well, with us, you don't have to do that. You don't have to sacrifice a channel to get bridge power. We do it in software. So if you, in the case of like a 350 watt by 4-channel amp, let's say you have a zone of 70 volt speakers that are driving their main rest seating area at a restaurant, and you have another zone that's driving the speakers in the bathrooms, maybe another zone that's driving some outdoor speakers for people that are sitting outside. So you want all those on separate volume controls. Then you have the 4th channel driving a subwoofer back maybe in the bar area where you want a little more low frequency response. And that subwoofer requires more than 350 watts. No problem. You engage smart power bridge, and now you got 700 watts to drive that subwoofer, and you still have all of those zones available to you. So the amp becomes very, very flexible in terms of how you can deploy it with this feature. The reason it's possible is when we engage smart power bridge, we just open up the limiter settings to allow more voltage and current to flow in that channel. And because there's so much headroom built into the design, into those components, that all of those channels are capable of delivering twice the amount of power than what they're actually rated. So that's how we're doing it. It's a really handy feature. It's been very, very popular among installers that have used our product thus far in the last couple of years. Advanced power factor correction is very efficient. You can run 2 of our 700 watt by 4-channel amps off of 120 amp circuit. Loads of onboard digital signal processing, which I'll show you, fault and event monitoring, which I'll show you, and a couple different kinds of load monitoring. And by the way, it does work on any voltage. You can have a low line voltage sag, and the amplifier will automatically adjust, and it will be inaudible to whoever's listening to the music. So it handles a lot of crazy AC line fluctuations, line voltages, stuff like that. So there is we do call it a Connect series for a reason. Because it's controlled via this simple web user interface, you have to connect to the amplifier in some way to configure it, change the volume, etc. And so we've given you 3 easy ways to connect to the amp. The first way is just like hardwire connection through a network. So if you have a network switch with a bunch of RJ45 Ethernet connections on the back, you can loop that to the amplifier and back. And then once you plug into that same network with your laptop, you can go through and control the amplifier and set it up. There's a couple of different wireless options too. So all the amplifiers have a built-in Wi-Fi access point. So all you do is there's a button on the back of the amp, you push it. The access point name is displayed on the front panel. And then you would log into that like you would any other hotspot with your phone, your device, your laptop, whatever. And now you can go through and now you can gain access to the amp. That's really handy in a 1 amp installation. Let's say you've got I'll use that restaurant example. You go in there, you hook everything up, your technician can engage the Wi-Fi access point, log into the amp, set your gain, do some room EQ, make sure everything sounds good, and then you can password protect that, lock it out, turn it off, nobody else can gain access to that amp, and it's secure, nobody's messing with your settings, and it's super easy and fast to do it that way. So, and then you can connect the amp to an existing venue's Wi-Fi as well. So if you still want wireless option, but you just want to use the Wi-Fi from the building, that's really easy to do as well. Then there's a remote control way to connect, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So let me pause. I'm going to stop. Actually, I'm just going to minimize this right now. And now on my screen, you should see 2 browser windows open. You can see the ADI website on the left side of my screen and the LEA Professional website on the right side of the screen. And I know it's impossible to see in this little screen, but on my desk, I have a 350 watt by 2-channel amp sitting here. And it's connected to our network in our building. I'm connected to that same network. And so once you're on the same network as the amp, all you do is you type the IP address in your browser. It's very simple to do that. The IP address, again, is always displayed on the front panel. Mine is 10.8.3.234. And so once you connect to 1 amp that's in a system, let's say you have multiple amps, you got a larger project and there's 3 or 4 or 10, 20 amps in a project. Once you connect to one, we use a discovery method, and all the amplifiers, all the LE amplifiers will find each other. And so you can see Scott's demo amp. If you look at this top left pane here, Scott's demo amp, that's the one that's sitting on my desk right now. But all of these other amplifiers that you see here, this is what they look like in software. These are all various test amps that are in our building here, various engineering amps that are in test racks. There's one called Goat, that's kind of cool. So these are all the amps that are in our building at the moment. So once you connect to the amp, all you do is you click on it and it opens up the channel count. I'll make this window bigger now so it's easier to see. So as I mentioned, I have a 2-channel by 350 watt amp. When you click on the amp, you can see now I've got my iPhone plugged into the input just so you can see the metering. And this is your input section. So this is where you would turn up or down the amplifier. There's a little gain control right here. You can just grab a fader. There's these little bump up or bump down arrows. There's everywhere you see a value in our software, you can click on it. And let's say I want minus 10 dB a gain. You can set it really simple. There's a couple of different override modes that we allow for every channel too. So if you, in that restaurant example, if you have a paging system or an emergency evac system and then somebody makes a page, you can assign a secondary input. So if the amp senses that signal coming through, it'll automatically mute down the program content and play that emergency evac message. If there's a fire or something like that, you can have that set up as a secondary input. So that's really cool. The next, I'm just going to go through these icons across the top here very quickly. This next icon, this is just where you tell the amplifier what kind of load that you're going to drive. As I mentioned, the amplifier can drive any load out of the box, whether it's 70 volt load or 8 ohm, 4 ohm. And so here you can see I've got channel 1, which I can name the output anything I want. I got channel 1 set to 70 volt mode. So it's set now to drive a distributed speaker system throughout a space. And I have channel 2 in low Z mode. So it's set to drive a directly coupled speaker, 8 ohm, 4 ohm speaker as an example. And then this is the smart power bridge feature I was telling you about. So you can see I have it now engaged on channel 2. These just toggle on and off. So here's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. I've got 350 watts available to me here to drive speakers on a 70 volt distributed line throughout the facility. And then let's say I have a subwoofer that I want to use to augment my signal low end response in my building. I can add a subwoofer onto channel 2. If I click on channel 2, if I turn on Smart Power Bridge now, I've got 700 watts of power now available. And I still have almost 350 watts, almost full rated power available on this other channel to drive. So again, 1 amp can do what it would normally take 2 amps to do in an installation such as this, in this example. So that's the advantage. There's an onboard signal generator. It's kind of a handy tool. If you're using just, once you get an install completed, you can run pink noise through the system. We give you pink noise, white noise, or steady tone. Then there's a full complement of digital signal processing. I won't take a lot of time to go through this. These are very high quality filters, 96 kilohertz processing, low latency. And so you can see there's a speaker tuning section. We have now over 1,000 speakers in a speaker tuning library that you can download from our website. So let's say you're using a, whatever manufacturer's speaker, ceiling speaker you're using, and they have their secret sauce of DSP that they like to make that speaker sound really good. You can download that and import that right into the amplifier. It'll set all your EQ curves for you. So then all you have to do is basic room equalization. So that's all this, but this is the crossover section. There's a delay. It's 100 milliseconds delay per channel. So you get in a larger space and you want to set up a little bit of the delay, like a small performing arts venue or something like that. That might come in handy. So it's there, but you got your crossovers here. There is 8 bands of parametric EQ per channel. So that's where, you can do some equalization to make the rooms just sound really good, the way the client would like it to sound. And then you've got speaker protection here in the form of limiters. We've got both RMS and peak limiters for speaker protection so nobody can blow up your speakers. And then the final icon here is a load monitor. This can be very handy when it comes to troubleshooting the sound system. So there's two kinds of load monitors. One is this load monitor you see here. In this case, we're using the program content and measuring the nominal impedance or the average impedance that the amplifier sees at its output. So let's say the average impedance is 6 ohms, as an example. You can set a high and a low limit above or below that nominal impedance. And if the load ever drifts outside of that, then it'll register a load event. So let's say, again, I'll stick with that restaurant example. If the HVAC guy was then doing some work and he accidentally cuts the speaker line to the main seating area of the restaurant, now you have no audio out there. The amplifier will register that as an open. So you'd see this turn to open. And now you know by looking at the event register that there's an open, somebody cut the speaker line. So that's a really simple example of where that might come in handy. The other load monitor is pilot tone detection. This is not dependent on program content. And in this case, we're setting an inaudible tone anywhere from 18 kilohertz to 22 kilohertz down the speaker line. And we're looking for a very specific impedance at that frequency. And this is just a lot more accurate kind of load monitor. It monitors the speakers 24/7. This is oftentimes required in a life safety application where you have to, validate that if there's an emergency evacuation message, the amplifier, we can tell you that yes, all the speakers are in good working order, everything's connected, and that the load monitor can tell you if there's ever a problem. If a zone gets cut or a speaker blows up, it'll register that as a load event. You can go and investigate where the problem is. So that's a quick rundown of what all these icons are for. If you go back to the front of the amp, there's a power button icon. We just monitor the AC line voltage and current all the time. These emojis do mean something, aside from the fact that we started a company and we're trying to have fun with it. Emojis are a popular way to convey status. So if you see a smiley face emoji, as is in the case here in this amp, there's no events and there's no faults. Everything is good, everything's happy, no issues whatsoever. If you see a frowny face emoji, that's the amp telling you that there's an event of some kind. So let's say somebody did cut that speaker wire. What you would see here is a frowny face because it's telling you there's an open. And then if you clicked on that as a frowny face, it would take you into this event register. And this is where we time and date stamp all the events that might have happened. So you can say, yeah, on Wednesday at 7:30 in the evening, there was a load event that happened. Oh, that's when the HVAC guy was there doing work. No wonder he cut the wire. That's what happened. So you can go back and kind of troubleshoot. Faults are things like that are internal to the amp. So there's a fault internally to the amp. Maybe the amplifier thermally protected itself, or there was some kind of issue. We have about 50 different fault conditions we monitor. So if there's a fault, we also time and date stamp those so we can do some troubleshooting just to help maybe we can over the phone help you get sorted out if there's ever a problem on a job site. This is the network settings menu. So this is where you can go through and set up an SSID if you want to connect to an existing venue's Wi-Fi. This is also where you go through and you can disable the Wi-Fi access point button and password protect it. So nobody else, that's where I mentioned earlier where nobody else can get in and mess with the amp. There's an all channel mute button right here on the home screen. I can mute all channels. I can go through and individually unmute channels. And then we are a green conscious customer, so we have a green menu here. It takes you into an auto standby feature that allows you the amp to go into auto standby mode, which effectively shuts down the high voltage rails. It only keeps the network card running, and the amp pulls about 1 watt at that point when you have that engaged. So if you got a green conscious customer, you can turn on auto standby, and that'll turn on that feature. That's a quick view of what those are all about. If you go into the amplifier settings, this is where you can name the amplifier anything you want. So you can name it a venue name, or you can name it a zone, or you can name it maybe this is driving the high frequency drivers, whatever the case may be. There's a Find Me feature, and when you click on that, it makes the logo flash on the front of the amp. That's kind of cool. So that's a quick rundown of what the amp user interface looks like. That's how you control it, configure it. Now I want to show you the remote control option. Take just a few more minutes here to show you this, and then we'll wrap it up. So the remote control of audio systems is done via our cloud platform. So our cloud platform is live. It's leaprofessional.cloud. You all can go there and create a cloud account. It's 100% free. There's no cost at all. So I've already done that. So when you go to leaprofessional.cloud and you type in your email address and your password, it's an account that you own. What you'll see in this left pane, instead of amplifiers, as you did over here in this screen, in your cloud, you'll see venues. So the idea here is, if I'm an installer in St. Louis and I go out and I install an amplifier, I do an install at a new restaurant, then I can create that venue here in my cloud account. It's really easy to do. You click on this plus icon. I'll pick on Sean Dixon. So this is Dixon's Bar and Grill. And I just sold Sean Dixon, who owns Dixon's Bar and Grill, a new amplifier. And so now I've created Dixon's Bar and Grill now as a venue in my cloud account. Now you can see there it is. It's all in alphabetical order. These are all my venues. And so now when I click on that venue, you can see there's no amplifiers found inside this venue. That's because I haven't onboarded my amps yet. Well, we have this very aptly named Add Amp button. You click on that. We're using Amazon Web Services IoT Core as the cloud server for this remote control option. Very, very secure. So the first thing it does is it generates this randomly generated token. You copy that into your clipboard. You go back to the local connection. And at the top of this menu here, there's a connect amp to account. You paste in that token and click register. And that's it. It's that simple. Now what happens here is Amazon takes over, and there is a handshake that happens between the IoT device, in this case it's an LEA amplifier, and the cloud, just to validate that this is a real device out there in the universe somewhere, in the world, and it's just doing a handshake to validate that there's something. It can take anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds. So now you can see. It was just there for a second. Not sure what happened. Let me refresh. So you can see Scott's demo amp is now showing up in my cloud account and at Dixon's Bar and Grill where I just installed it. So it's that simple. And we're using Amazon Web Services IoT Core for a number of reasons. One is, these are not servers that are sitting in a closet here in our building. It is the most secure cloud platform out there. It's all 256-bit encryption. Nobody is hacking into this device and changing your settings or messing with it unless they have your login credentials. If you click on this lock icon, you can see there's a valid certificate issued by Amazon. This is a secure device in the cloud, if you want to call it that way. But now here's where it gets really cool. When I click on that amp at Dixon's Bar and Grill, let's say I'm on vacation in Bora Bora and Sean Dixon calls me up and says, hey, I got no audio in my restaurant. I've lost the zone, or, my outdoor speakers aren't working, whatever the case may be. I can log into my cloud account, click on that amp, and now I can see everything that's going on in that installation as if I was there locally. But I can be anywhere in the world. Amazon Web Services has more than 70 server locations around the world. They're all connected by super fast fiber. And so no matter where you are in the world, you have as long as you got an internet connection, you can get to your cloud account. And so I can go through, if I can mute the Sean Dixon's Bar and Grill in the cloud, you can see it mutes locally almost instantaneously. I can unmute locally, it pushes back up to the cloud. It's full two-way remote control. And so everything that you have access to locally, you can have access to in the cloud. So why is this important? Well, First off, it's free. There is no cost to this. We pay for this. We pay for the development. We pay for the data storage. We pay for Amazon. We pay all of it. So there is no cost at all to use this. It just becomes a very, very good tool for you to troubleshoot with your client. So let me go back now to the PowerPoint. So I think you can see this is where I left off, just to cover some advantages of really why this remote technology is so important. First off, it just allows you to troubleshoot from a distance. It's been hard to get on job sites during the pandemic. Well, if you have this tool, you can get on a job site without actually traveling there. You can look at it via the cloud. You can do tech support, and if you do, a lot of installers now are pretty good at selling maintenance contracts or services agreements. If you are that type, if you have those skills in your company, maybe you can add this as a line item saying, hey, 24/7 monitoring via the cloud. If anything goes wrong, I don't have to travel out there. I can look at it. I may be able to troubleshoot it, over the phone. And it's something that can help you with that recurring revenue model. So again, 100% free feature, full remote control, doesn't cost anything. The amp is still very competitive. As a matter of fact, this is a simple cross-reference guide. I'm not going to get into details here other than to say, when you look at everything we have to offer, we win. We all came from Crown, so of course we're intimately familiar with the Crown products, but we've done extensive research, and we know we win from a technology standpoint, but we also win from a price standpoint. We don't lead with price. It's not one of my core differentiators. I don't say, hey, buy me, I'm the cheapest. But if you were to give LEA a try in a project, you will not be disadvantaged on price. As a matter of fact, you may well be advantaged because of all these extra things that we provide for free. You can eliminate pieces and parts and DSP and other equipment and just do an entire project, maybe with just the amp and your input sources, and that's it. So price is not an issue. The final thing I'll talk about is something that we call the LEA way. It's the way that we do business, and especially the way that we do business as it aligns with ADI is very, very special. So our products carry a 6-year warranty. The first 3 years is guaranteed advanced replacement. So when you purchase an LEA amp from ADI, and you have a problem at that restaurant, let's say Dixon's Bar and Grill has a problem, you, as the integrator, you can call us up and say, I've got a problem. And we would then advance replace that amp for free for 3 years. We send you a brand new amplifier that we can ship it to the job site or to your office. We don't care. And so that's for 3 years. We advance replace it. It's the best warranty out there, I think. And we just really stand behind the product. And so that's one way. And then, just the ADI advantage. They have a very skilled sales team. They got all these locations. They have warehouses everywhere. A system design team for pre-sale support. All these things, and all the other pieces and parts that we don't make. We just make the amplifiers. You need more than that to complete an installation. ADI represents this one-stop shop for you. And so that's a bit about the way that we do business. We can't meet you in person. If you did, you'd see that we like to have fun. We work hard, play hard. We really care about our customers. If somebody buys a product from us, we bend over backwards to make sure they get a very good experience. And so we hope you do give us a try on a project. Just to wrap up, just to give you a quick summary here, these are the main takeaways. It's very advanced technology that's easy to use. The remote control advantage that we give you via our cloud platform, we're the only one doing anything like it. The way that we do business, which I just talked about, and the price. If that's not enough, we're a very green conscious customer. We do have several installations where they want to know what your sustainability statement is. If they're going to use your product in an installation, we just did the St. Joe County Library. It's got 8 of our amplifiers in it. They wanted to know, well, do you have a commitment to what's your sustainability statement? Because this is a LEED certified building. So we have that as well. So I know I covered that very quickly, but we did record it. So you can go back and look at it. But with that, I will I will stop now. I've taken them just a little over 40 minutes, and just pause to see if there's been any questions. I have not been able to see the chat room, so if there's any questions in there, I haven't been able to see those. Is there any questions, Sean, we should address?
Don't see any yet. We'll stay on for a few more minutes. While you're thinking of any questions, just feel free to type into the Q&A. Great overview of the product line. For those dealers out there, if you haven't given LEA a try or have a project coming up, certainly think about LEA on that next project. Scott mentioned all of our locations and our sales team. I just wanted to mention, in addition to our incredible inside sales team, whether it's in the branches or inside Pro AV team, we have a dedicated outside Pro AV team of about 24 folks. So if you don't know who your outside Pro AV rep is, you can always drop an email to proav@adiglobal.com, and somebody will connect you with that person. And if you've not used our systems group down in Louisville, definitely tap into those guys if you need any pre-sale support. Those guys have been around for 25 plus years, helping integrators close projects, win more deals, understand the products a little bit deeper, help you with building bill of materials out. So definitely tap into that group when you need them. And let's just see if we've got any more questions.
There's a question
there was one
about cooling. The amplifiers, this is actually a really good question, and it reminds me of something else I can say too, and that is the amplifiers use a front to back cooling. There's 3 little whisper fans in there, really quiet. So if you're in a quiet environment, it's not going to be annoying, but it is a front to back cooling. They are variable speed fans too, so they'll infinitely variable, so they'll move up and down in speed or velocity as they need to cool the amp. The other thing I should mention too is that I can't really show you, but the rack ears are swivel. So yeah, Joey's got one right there. So you can remove the screws that hold the rack ear on, and you can rotate those around. So if you want to mount the amplifier to the underneath side of the table, you want to mount it on a wall, you mount it down on top of the table. There's a lot of different ways that you can mount the amp to make it, to hide it, or to put it in concealed spaces. If you don't have a rack, no problem, you can mount it on a wall. So just one of those things where you take our mechanical engineer, let's take off, let them think creatively out of the box, and create rotatable rack ears. The filters are very easy to clean on the front. There's magnets that hold these plastic strips in there. You pop those right out with a little screwdriver, and you can clean the filters if that becomes a problem, and pop them right back in. Really easy to do. Comes with all the accessories that you need, rear rack supports, all the input connectors, output connectors, everything you need to plug the amp in and get it going.
One other fine detail too that we've also focused on is with our connectors, our input and output connectors. We also silk screen polarity on all of our connectors. So just to make your life a little easier as an installer. So you might be able to see on this connector here, we have all polarity silk screened on there. So.
Yep, we know that you're doing installs sometimes in dark places, so it's really easy to get something wired backwards or out of phase, so why not have a little help? That's a good point, Joey.
Good stuff. That's awesome.
Can we make ADI some surround receivers?
Inside joke there. Well, it's not really inside. I think everybody in the industry is looking for AVRs right now, so if you guys had thought about getting into that business, I'm sure you would be a success. So,
well, we probably should stick with what we're good at. I don't know if we'd be very good at that.
That was a good one. Okay, well, as Scott mentioned, this call has been recorded. In approximately 2 to 3 days, we'll have it up on our YouTube channel, which you can link to from adiglobal.com or .ca. Just go down to webinars, and you'll see a live of approximately 80 or so webinars you can watch back at your leisure. If you have someone else in your company that you'd like to watch this video back, certainly encourage them to do so. And with that, if there's no other questions, we will wrap up this webinar. Also check out our webinar schedule for anything upcoming. We do have continual webinars going on, and they're all advertised on our website. So want to thank everybody for joining us. Be safe out there, and let us know if we can help you with an amplifier on your next project. So.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joey.